Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet with Tarot. And today we are doing a really fun tag and sort of launching a new daily pull practice for myself, which I'm so excited about, all based around the Narrative Alchemy Tarot by our very own Chrissy Bentley. So, Chrissy created this deck. It is based around the chakra system. So all of the cards have these amazing keywords and are colored in accordance to the 7 chakras. To go along with this, Chrissy started a tag sharing just kind of a practice she's been doing called 7 decks for 7 chakras. And the amount that this has just absolutely delighted my ADHD brain is so ridiculous. Like, obviously I know this wasn't made just for me, but it just feels like it was. So, the premise is, Chrissy went through and picked a tarot deck to go with each of the 7 chakras, kind of the themes of the chakras. And she starts out her daily readings pulling a card from the Narrative Alchemy Tarot, and whichever chakra shows up basically dictates which tarot deck she's going to use. I guess we can kind of look through this while I'm just talking, you know? It's so good. It's so good. I just got this in a few days ago, actually with the Cottage Witch Oracle order I placed. I also took the opportunity to order this for myself because I'd been wanting it for quite some time, but, you know, make playing cards. It's just easier to get it all in there at once. Anyhow, so I loved watching Chrissy's video. Meg from Rose Honey Ritual also is doing this and put a video showing her choices and took it a step further where she is picking out 2 decks for each chakra. So that way she kind of still has a choice no matter what she picks. And since I am a huge fan of choices, I will be doing that as well. So for each of the 7 chakras, I've got 2 decks to show. Meg also had some decks that didn't count, but I might have one. I'm not really decided. I might have one that doesn't count. I don't really know. But this is what I'm doing for my daily polls, so I mean, I could be entirely wrong. I think Meg is doing this for, like, all the readings she does in general, so I've got out some decks that I will continue to read with outside of my daily polls, so I guess those are my exceptions. Anyway, that's besides the point. Let's get into the decks I chose, why don't we? I need to make a bag for this, desperately. I just can't decide. I can't decide on the color. I don't know. Should I make it rainbow? Probably. Anyway, our first group of decks is the root chakra. So these are decks that connect to our sense of stability, grounding, security, things of that sort. So my first selection was an easy pick, and that is the Walking Meditation Tarot. An absolute favorite of mine since I got it last October, I think it was. Maybe September, I don't know. But this is a sort of a photography deck where it is photography, but the creator placed this kind of like painting style filter over the photograph so that they look a little bit more like they were painted, which is really, really cool. But it is all nature scenes. The court cards have animals, which is my favorite thing in the whole world. And this is just, it's a deck that really, really brings me back down to earth because that's exactly what's being portrayed here. And it is such a favorite of mine. Out of all the kind of purely nature landscape decks I have tried, this is hands down my favorite, and I think at this point the only one in my collection, question mark? I love this Wheel of Fortune. I think it is. I don't know. I love that how We get all the different seasons here. It just, I don't know, it just instantly connects to that feeling of grounding for me, and I don't know, it's one of those decks that just makes my brain feel quiet. Anyone else have that experience? It's so good. So good. So that is my first root chakra deck. So when I was picking out my decks, there were some that just seemed like obvious choices to me, but my other goal with this is picking some decks that either are new and I want to play with, or I haven't given too much attention to lately or at all, so I wanted to kind of bring them into the mix. So my other root chakra deck is the Hashtara, which is one I've just not played with much in a bit. And I love this deck, I really do. For some reason, I just don't consistently read with it. I love the color I edged it in. It's in this, like, light brown. I think it's neat. I just think it's neat. Are we zoomed in enough? These are the questions to ask, probably before you press record, right? There we go, that's better. So I chose this for the root chakra because, again, it's just it's another really earthy feeling deck. I also really enjoy that in all of these images, the characters just look like they are right on the ground. Like, we get a lot of scenes where it's almost like they're directly in the grass outside, you know? And, I mean, really the only explanation I have is because it's so earthy feeling, and it's one that I just kind of missed using. I used this a lot when I was consistently doing some fairy readings over the summer, which that, for me, tends to slow down a bit. I still work with fairies in the wintertime, but it feels to me like they go a little bit dormant. So as we're getting into spring, it's time, you know? Their time is back, and this is a deck I really love using for fairy work as well, so I thought that would be cool, but I really love this one. It's so beautiful. So that is my second root chakra deck, the Hashtara. And next is the sacral chakra, which is a deck that helps you get in touch with your emotions and creativity, motivations, pleasure, things of that sort. And our first pick is the Tarot Avatara, which, oh my gosh, this deck is so beautiful. But another one that I kind of got this one towards the real tail end of summer. It might have even been like technically fall. And it really has such a fiery summer feel to me. So that I think that's why I haven't really played with it too much yet, but again, it's another one that I really want to spend some time with. And I mean, this deck is all about Frida Kahlo, which, I mean, to me directly connects to that sense of creativity and pleasure and just that kind of like fiery feeling that to me feels like the sacral chakra. And there's also just so much orange in here. So to me it made sense in that way. But I just think this is going to read really, really well with that sacral chakra, and I'm so excited about it. I really love this deck. And it's one of those where it's like, gosh, every time I take it out, I'm like, why do I not take this out more? Like, it's beautiful down to even just the production quality. Like, reading with this deck is just a fantastic experience. So, yeah, I think that's going to be really cool for the sacral chakra. That is Tarot Avatara. And I need to figure out a way to store this though, because the box is kind of clunky, but for some reason, I don't know, I've just not discovered the right way to store it. I think it feels like a deck that wants to stay in its box, even if I don't want it to, if that makes sense. Alright, Now, our second deck for the sacral chakra is the Lila Ferdaro, which, again, is just kind of, it's bright and colorful, but really feels like it gets in touch with that. No, emotion isn't right. It just feels like a motivating kind of deck. And it feels like a deck that kind of plants ideas in my head, which to me feels like that sacral chakra energy. I asked my friend Andy to kind of explain these a little bit better to me, because I am definitely new to anything about the chakra system. I know the gist, but for, like, sacral and solar plexus is still a bit of a challenge of just conceptually. And the way Andy explained it is sort of like the sacral chakra being that spark, that idea, and the solar plexus kind of that energy of acting on it, which I think is a really cool way to explain that. And so thinking of it that way, the Lila Ferdaro totally fit the bill. And again, it's just got this like really creative, unique vibe to it that I feel like fits really well into that sacral chakra energy. The creator is coming out with like a bougier I don't know how else to say that. A bougier edition of this, basically. I think they call it the gold edition. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get that one. It looks so beautiful though with the 2-piece box. Oh, beautiful. We shall see, but that's exciting. Anyway, that is the Lila Ferdaro. My second sacral chakra. I like the word sacral. Sacral. Okay. Next, we've got the solar plexus, which is a deck that prompts you to follow your passion, purpose, and power. So it's kind of about self-confidence, originality, courage, things of that sort. So, to start out, we've got the Barbara Walker Tarot. Whoa. How did I just say that? Barbara Walker Tarot. That is a tongue twister and doesn't seem like it should be. Maybe that's just me. So this is a deck that I got off of eBay and thought I was getting the like first bit bigger edition of it, and then got it and was like, oh, it's small. I didn't. And then was very kindly told by many of you in the comments, like, yes, you did. So that's neat. Besides the point. But like, it kind of confusing because I feel like it's not that much bigger, so I don't really know what the big dealio there is. But hey, it's here, and I like it. But I've not really used it much since getting it. But immediately when I was thinking about decks that kind of are that self-empowerment, courageous type energy, this one immediately came to mind. Because it's got this, like, uber feminist energy that feels like the few times I have read with it, it's felt like this kick in the pants to be like, hey, get going. Like, you need to do this thing. And I think that's just exactly the right energy for the solar plexus chakra in the ways I have understood it anyway. So I'm really excited to get to know this deck better because, again, I know, like, I hear so many good things about it, and I just haven't really fully taken the time to work with it because I literally just got a package with the cards in the mail, so I didn't even have a little white book. But then was also kindly told that you can get the Barbara Walker tarot book that pairs up with this deck on as an ebook for really cheap. I think on like Google Play or something. I don't know. So I got that. So I have that to work with, which is nice. But yeah, I just feel like this deck oozes confidence in all the right ways, and I'm really excited about that. So that is my first solar plexus deck, and that is the Barbara Walker Tarot. Can we talk about this bag I made for it, though? I just love it. Something about a little red bag. Absolute slay. Anyway, okay. And next we've got the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, which I've had for a bit and haven't fully made the connection with, but just I know I can. I know it's there. You know when you have that feeling? And this just felt like a solar plexus deck. I feel like I'm not even explaining this well, because in my head I'm just like, well, it just is. But again, thinking of the solar plexus as that kind of action on the creativity in a way, this deck feels, I don't know if fiery is the right word. Do the chakras have element associations? I bet they do. I bet they do. That would have been neat to look into before, and I did not. I'll look into that after. But I think this one, honestly, I could have interchanged it between both the sacral and the solar plexus. Because even though, I mean, it's Dreams of Gaia, which it would seem very earthy, it's got a very fiery feel to me, very, like, action-packed sort of thing going on. And I'm really excited about this deck. Sandy just got this deck and has been having the best time with it, and it totally remotivated me to bring this one back out. And I love this little pocket edition. The cardstock is just top notch, you know? They really hit the bill with this one. I don't feel like I have a good explanation for this. Because again, sacral chakra, solar plexus. I keep reading about it, and again, had it fully explained to me by my very intelligent friend on the matter, Andy. And then it clicks for a second, and then when I go back to think about it again, I'm like, but wait, do I get it? So, but I think I got it right, so we're just gonna go with that. Anyway, so that is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, and that is my second deck for the solar plexus. Moving on to the heart chakra, I actually have a deck, or I chose this deck, and I think Meg picked the same one for the heart chakra. It's in her lineup somewhere. I think it was also heart chakra. But that is the Anecdotes Tarot. And so I actually had this one, the full-sized, when you could get it, and just couldn't really make the connection because the artist it is inspired by, the musician, I just don't really know. So yeah, I ended up gifting that one to Sandy because she's a big fan of that musician. And also, it was also kind of unwieldy, the big size. So then the creator just came out with where you can print your own little pocket size. So that is what I did. But I also went on and added my own titles because the pocket edition didn't have any titles. And now, actually, I'm not even remembering if the big size, I think it didn't really fully have titles. That might have been something weird for me too. But I had it really early on into learning tarot, I think. I don't know. Anyway, I added titles, and I really like how that came out. But there is, I love the artwork of this deck. That was always the thing, is I loved the artwork so much, which is why I felt so kind of attached to it for a long time, even though I wasn't reading with it. So I'm happy to have that back. But there is something about this deck that just feels really connected to that heart space. There's like kind of this openness to it, but in this warm way that, I don't know, it's got this interesting vulnerability to it almost. But there's also a lot of greens and pinks throughout it, which I love. Oh, I mean, is that not so beautiful? And I think that's another reason it instantly popped in my head too for a heart chakra deck, because it's just got the right colors, you know? But also there's this softness to it that I think almost makes the vulnerability that can come with heart chakra work, from what I understand, a little bit more comfortable, you know? I don't know. It feels inviting in that kind of way, and I really, really like this deck, and especially using it now in this smaller size and with the little titles, which was really fun to do. I'm hoping that was okay that I did that. I'm not really sure. But I think it's fine. I mean, the creator put it up to be able to print. I didn't mess with the artwork, right? I just wanted titles. Just wanted titles, man. So that is my first heart chakra deck, and that is the Anecdotes Tarot. The second deck for the heart chakra is a gift I just got from my wonderful friend Matt, the Mystic Fairy Tarot, which I've looked at so many times, I feel like, and just, I don't know. I was nervous it was gonna be too close to the Victorian Fairy Tarot, but it totally isn't. And this is another one that really right away occurred to me for that heart chakra space, because it's got this softness to it. I think that's what I was looking for when it came to this chakra, was just like an inviting softness. And we've got all this green and pink, but also I don't have the full guidebook with this box I got, but even the little white book is fantastic. And the messages that I have read so far from this deck really hits in that emotional healing space, in like this really not overly comforting but comforting way, which I think matches up so perfectly for the heart chakra. And it's just, oh my gosh, isn't this gorgeous? I really love this. I love all the mushrooms that show up. It's so good. It's so good. And definitely different enough from my Victorian Fairy Tarot. But you know, I'm a fairy kind of gal, so it's alright if we've got some overlap, right? I'm gonna use them all, because I like them. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Anyway, so that is my second heart chakra deck, and that is the Mystic Fairy Tarot. Alright, so the next chakra is the throat. Did I even say what the heart chakra was? I didn't. I mean, I think that one is pretty intuitive, but that was a deck that helps you give and receive love. Alright, next we've got the throat chakra, which are decks that help you to receive and present information more clearly. So sort of like, I take this as communication, speaking your truth, practical thought in a way. I'm also looking at Andy's new upcoming deck, which I will show at the end a bit, because I'm going to be using her decks in this probably as well. The Animal Guide Oracle, she put this little chakra guide in there, so I'm also reading off of that, I should say. Okay, this is where I might have the exception, because I've got 3 decks out here. I don't know. I'm thinking that, so originally I picked out the Tarot by Mr. Freiburg, which is, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. My box, I've been kind of dropping the box all over the place though. Not good. Not good. This is a really gorgeous deck. And it really, because it is a Marseille deck, Marseille style, it has a really clear way of speaking for me. And so it really does make sense to be in that throat chakra space. But I am working on reading more Marseille and learning Marseille right now, so I'm kind of wondering if this could be my exception, because it also, I feel like if I wanted to have it cross over literally anywhere, it could. Because I think it could. We'll see. My last chakra, I'm doing something a little bit different and could need a separate deck for that, so I'm wondering if this one should just be like a floater. Maybe it'll be a floater. What do we think about that? I don't know. So right now, I think I'm just going to keep the 3 out for the throat chakra, but this one might be a bit of a floater. That is the Tarot by Mr. Freiburg. Absolutely gorgeous. Amazing. Beautiful. Okay. Then, well, let's look at the other the other pip deck I picked out for this, so that was the thing too, is I had 2 pip decks out, and I was like, well, they're very different, but the other one I picked would add a little bit more variety, you know? Anyway, this one is the newest deck in my collection, and it is the Tarot of the Drowning World. Very much inspired by Chrissy Bentley herself, because I saw how it paired with her tarot and was like, oh my gosh, yes, absolute yes. And this is one that has really been on my list for quite some time regardless, and he's a big boy. Let's zoom out. Okay. This deck is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I feel like, oh my gosh, my camera's gonna die. That could be like a little bingo treasure hunt I make. How many videos do I announce that my camera's gonna die? We have to pause right now, but I'm not actually gonna pause because I don't want to reset the camera. Okay, I'll fix. Anyway, I don't think I have any other explanation for this one other than it is a pip style deck, and those tend to really be a bit more straightforward of readers to me. I do think this could be really cool in kind of a third eye crown chakra kind of way too, but because it's new, I don't know it well enough to know if it connects for me in that way yet. So, you know, would that make sense then for this to be more of a floater, since I don't really know how it reads for me yet? These are the things to consider. Maybe that makes sense, because I already know how the other 2 read for me. Oh, isn't it so pretty though? I could look at this all day long. Okay, I think this one might be more of the floater to just really get to know it better and see where it lands for me, but I'm really excited about this one. That is the Tarot of the Drowning World. This is one of the decks also printed by Expert Playing Cards, which is where like Pagan Otherworlds and what's that colorful one? Oh my gosh, I have it and I love it. What's it called though? Playful Heart Tarot, where they're printed. And does anyone else, anytime you have one of those decks out at all, if you have one, just need to sniff it? Because it's got the best ink smell of all time. Anything printed by them. Alright, so I think that's going to be our floater. The Mr. Freiborg is back in to the throat chakra, but then I guess our official second throat chakra deck is the, oh my gosh, Theodore Pavlov Tarot. That's what you're called. Wowza. Getting all over the place here. And this one just, it kind of actually, in just the feel of it, reminds me a little bit of Pagan Otherworlds, where I think it's this kind of coloring leaves a lot of openness in the cards. But because it is really a Smith-Waite clone in many ways, it is an easy reader for me. And I think that is something else for me to think about when it comes to picking decks for clear communication, clear information, is kind of something that, you know, like Marseille, even if I don't get a message right off the bat and I have to kind of read my books, it inevitably is going to be a pretty straightforward reading. Or something like this where it's just I know the system so well that I'm going to know what it's saying to me right away. So I think this is going to be really cool in that throat chakra space, because that's sort of where it hits for me. Similarly, I could have picked Pagan Otherworlds too, for sure, but I wanted to give this one some more play since I haven't had it out in about like a month or so, and really have enjoyed my time with it. So that is my second throat chakra deck. Oh, isn't that Hermit so beautiful? That might be my favorite Hermit. That is the Theodore Pavlov Tarot. Alright. 2 more chakras left. Okay, next is the third eye, which is decks that get you in touch with your intuition and inner knowing. First up, we've got the Meraki Tarot. And this deck just feels so magical to me, and I feel like is one that I tend to read pretty intuitively because the pictures really do kind of go in their own direction. But what also drew me to this deck, see, it's got this like otherworldly feel to it, but rooted in nature, which I feel like is a big way I look at that sort of magical place that the third eye can kind of be related to. What was I going to say? Oh, the other thing that drew me to this deck is I do have the full workbook now, which, if I haven't said it already, I totally recommend. I didn't have it at first, and still really loved working with the deck, but there's so much info in there that is so awesome. So the other thing that drew me to that is being able to work with the workbook with this deck, because it gives you crystal associations for all of the cards. If you don't have the workbook, you just get the ones for the majors. So you get crystal associations, and something about that, kind of working with tarot and crystals at the same time, really just feels very third eye to me. I mean, really it's mostly about the imagery in this, where it's kind of, I can recognize these cards and get a reading without the book, but then also really take a look at the pictures and see how that makes me feel. And it's got this magical guiding feel to it, which I really, really love, and I think it's going to be very cool for the third eye. So that is the Meraki Tarot. And second, we've got the Tarot of Mystical Moments, which is a deck I recently brought back into my collection. I did have this probably like a year ago, and rehomed it in a time where I just seem to be rehoming a lot of different things, but that's okay. Right place, wrong time, I suppose, sometimes. But since I've probably only had this deck for like a week now again, and oh my gosh, I love it. I remember, or I know why now it feels like it was meant to be back. It is just such a gorgeous reader. Very intuitive as well, because again, like these images, it feels like each card there's so much to look at, to unpack, and it really stretches my brain outside of a typical tarot meaning through looking at these images. And I think that is kind of a really interesting way to relate to that third eye, where it's kind of like stretching beyond initial perception, I guess you could say. And also it's got all these like blue colors in it, which is cool. Oh, I really love this deck. I really missed it. So we're glad you're back. I think this is gonna be, again, really, really cool in that third eye space. It's so magical. I think that's what I was kind of going for with that third eye, was like magical feeling decks. So that is the Tarot of Mystical Moments. My second third eye chakra deck. And where did I put the cover? There it is. Last but not least, we've got the crown chakra, which is decks that connects you to source, higher consciousness, I guess you could say. So I'm running the show a little bit different when it comes to the crown chakra, at least like compared to how I would work with the rest of the decks. But let's start with my first choice, which is the Marielle Tarot. And my plan is, so I wanted to pick decks for this that felt like there was really this kind of bigger energy, this big guiding energy, which is what I really feel from the Marielle so far, and the second deck I picked. And so each of these cards really has so much to look into. So this is not a deck that I tend to pull right now more than one card from. And kind of same feeling with the other deck. So my plan for the Crown Chakra is that I wanted to pick, again, these bigger energy decks, and where usually I tend to do at least like a 3-card pull in the morning, when I get a Crown Chakra card, we're just going to do a 1-card pull. And from pulling one Crown Chakra card to the next time I pull a Crown Chakra card, I'm going to leave that single card draw out on my desk to kind of just ponder, I suppose. Chrissy chose the Mysteries of the Black Madonna deck, which is such a fantastic choice, and that's one that I may bring into the mix if I so choose. I've never used that deck as like a daily pull kind of deck, so I don't know. We'll have to see. Because my hesitation with that was whenever I pull a card from that deck, I tend to leave it out for quite a few days until it feels like it's ready to be switched out and really just kind of think on that message. And that's what's kind of sparked this idea of working with the Crown Chakra. So it could get switched in, but Marielle is our first deck. And next, our second one we're going to use is the Dark Goddess Tarot, which is another one I'm really excited to get to know more. It just was a thing of like, I wasn't sure how I wanted to work with this because it's a tarot, but each card has a different goddess on it, which just felt like a big energy to be pulling multiple cards if I wanted to really like work with that kind of deity energy. So I thought it'd be really cool. And again, it's got, since we're going into that like kind of higher realm, other realm with these deity figures, I thought it would be cool to do a single card draw and really focus on that one message, the one goddess figure, until whenever it happens to be I pull a Crown Chakra again. And that's sort of my signal of like, all right, we've worked through this card, you know? I just thought that would be kind of a fun thing to do. I don't know. And so, yeah, this is my other Crown Chakra deck. I mean, it definitely has that guiding energy to it, that higher power source type energy, because we've got all these different goddesses, which you could see them all in that way. And I like the theme of this deck being the Dark Goddess, so it's like the different facets of what that could mean across different cultures, which is really interesting to me. So, yeah, that is my second Crown Chakra deck, the Dark Goddess. Oh, so what I was going to say, too, about the floater deck is that I'm doing a single card draw, but I wanted to have a tarot available if it felt like I needed to expand on the message. So I think that could for sure be something I use that floater deck on, but we shall see. Okay, and that is all my chakra decks. So I wanted to show quickly, I've got 2 other chakra-themed decks created by my friend Andy that I'm going to kind of pull in and out of this practice. And the first is the failure chakras, which I've showed, but I just thought it would be really neat to break this up into its separate chakras as well, and pull like a secondary oracle message alongside the Narrative Alchemy Tarot. Because right now I'm using the Narrative Alchemy as more of an oracle because it does have that keyword on it, but I think this could be really cool to expand upon that. So that's what I'm thinking with that. But Andy also is putting out incredibly soon, which I'm going to do a walkthrough on this because it's just such a cool deck. It is the Animal Guide Oracle. And so, like it sounds, it is an animal oracle, but the premise is that all of the animals are broken up into these 7 chakras, however Andy kind of perceived they related to them. And so it's a really, really cool deck where it's like each animal is acting as your guide for the day, for the week, however you choose to work with it. It's just so awesome. So I thought this would be really cool too, to also, again, break it up into its different chakra groups and pull alongside with whichever chakra I get from Narrative Alchemy. Oh, it's just so cool. It's such a cool way to, because again, I love working with animal energies, and having it be related to this whole other system is just so creative and just so cool. It's so cool. So yes, I will be definitely doing a walkthrough on this soon, because I do believe that pretty soon Andy will be putting up a pre-order for this deck. So when you see that walkthrough, just know there'll be a pre-order. This is really cool. It's really cool. So that is the Animal Guide Oracle. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say today. I'm really excited about this practice. It just feels like this really cool way to have, and it just came at the right time, because I was just talking about how I felt like I really needed to shake up my reading practice, but also keep it like just a little bit loose. And this feels like the perfect way to add just enough structure in the ways that I need, while also allowing some freedom to choose different decks, things of that sort. So I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much to Chrissy for just putting this idea out in the world. Really awesome. So excited. Anyway, that's all I have to say. So I hope you're all having a great weekend so far, and I will see you again very soon.